Char Margolis, Char Communications Incorporated, and CharVision LLC do not endorse or offer for any purpose but entertainment the views of any guest or other expert on CharVision or UBN.
I knew things before they happened from the time I was a child. At the age of 8, I saw a spirit at the foot of my bed and didn't know what it was. And in my 20s, I finally realized I had a special ability that could help others. I have learned that love never dies. There is a spirit world that can communicate with us, and we all have the gift of intuition. Join me, and together we will explore the possibilities of the unknown from beyond and more. This is CharVision. Hey everybody, it's Sunny and Char, and today is November 3rd, 2017. Just in case you're watching this on YouTube, because today I'm so excited. My dear friend is on today with me on Skype, but it's not Skype. It's called Zoom. Sorry, Zoom is the new Skype. So the really cool thing about it, his name is Greg Tufaro, and he's an astrologer. And
I am.
Yay! And well, but here's the thing about Greg. Greg does not like promote himself or anything, like to get himself out into the world. So it's my job to do this because
That's
he's
right.
truly probably the best astrologer I have ever met. And
Char's like my fairy godmother. She's very kind.
You're so sweet, but
Very kind of her to say.
no, wait. See, Greg has a day job. He's just an award-winning producer.
Oh, thank you.
Just that. And he's actually really gifted at it. But he comes from a family. His dad is an astrologer, right?
You know, it's so funny. It's so funny that you're saying that because I was telling him that we were doing this tonight, and I said I should bring you on as a special guest star.
And
he's like, he's shyer than I am.
Wait, I would love for him to come on.
He's not tonight. Another time. Yeah. Another time he will. I promise.
You promise?
Oh, 100%. I mean, my dad likes talking, and he'd love this, but he's being shy for some reason. So you know.
Well, I think because he loves you so much, he wants you to shine.
True.
And
like
so,
that, yeah.
So it's kind of like you have an astrological ability through osmosis.
True.
Tell us, how did you start doing this? Was it from your dad?
So, you know, I always say this. I come from a spiritual family in that my mom's Jewish, my dad was raised Catholic, and we were exposed to everything. So we celebrated all the holidays. And I think the fact that they came from, I mean, really in my mind, not that dissimilar backgrounds, but I guess from a religious perspective, kind of the opposite on some level. To me, it's not so opposite. It's the same exact thing.
Well,
but
it's like the same guilt.
Same exactly right. Same guilt exactly.
Catholic have the same guilt.
100%. So my dad, you know, I'd say like in the 70s, he was in his 30s. He was always a spiritual. I mean, he's a Sagittarius rising, so he's a spiritual investigator, and he just really had this like need to find whatever higher truths, and he started researching astrology, and he studied it for years. And then I was born in the 70s, so I was raised with it my entire life. And he'd read people. I mean, you know, my dad's so gifted that like he says, oh, I'm better than he is, but he'd read family members, friends. My dad never did it professionally. He worked in the garment district in Manhattan, and but he'd read for people, and like people would come over, and you know, like when you're a little kid, you'd sit and your parents would have people over for dinner or whatnot, and like they'd stay up late. And like, you know, as a kid, you're eavesdropping on what's going on. And my dad would read people, and he just, by looking at their charts, he knew things about them that you wouldn't just know from speaking to a stranger.
But so, you do that.
Well, I do now because, you know, that spurred me to want to research and read. And, you know, I mean, as a kid that sees this going on, I'm skeptical about everything. Like, you know, I'm a TV producer. So like as a TV producer, you kind of need to be skeptical of people's stories. You know, there's just like a lot of like questioning. Is this, you know? So I always had that going.
Now with Google and the internet, it's even like tougher,
a million
right?
times. Multiply that by a million times.
A million.
You know, so I, you know, I started like investigating on my own, and you know, do people signs for the people I know? Does it fit their personalities and what I know about them? And it seemed like it reinforced itself, but there was still a part of me that was kind of like, I don't know, is it a little too broad? Is it not too broad? And then I think once if you dive deeper into some of like just the tenets about like earth, air, fire, and water, to me now, it's almost like when I was in junior high and you're studying algebra, geometry. Like we were doing geometric proofs. One day it clicked. Like until like you understand how truth, false, the different theorems work, it doesn't make that much sense. But the more I studied it, the more I was like, oh, it makes sense. And it does click. And then really like, I know people know Mercury in retrograde, that like things go haywire and that, you know, a lot of people feel that. But for me, like it really started to show itself and prove itself to me with eclipses. And, you know, I mean, these are things that people have studied and looked at for thousands of years. And, you know, we call them omens, and some people might see that as negative. I just feel like eclipses, when I saw them like hitting specific people's charts, and I was able to say, you're going through a big something in your life in this specific aspect of your life. What is it? And I can like say, I could go back and say, I could see it hitting your chart in 2007 or 1990, whatever. What happened within this couple of week time period? More often than not, people would agree and say, yes, I had that experience. And then, you know, it's interesting. You and I have conversations about this, a concept of faith. And sometimes you say that I need to have faith in, you know, I guess my own ability and stuff like that.
Well, you're so good. I mean, truly, you're just so good at it. So, okay, so sometimes you like at work, do you like sneak in to help people?
Well, everybody, yeah, it's fun. You know, I'll say when I started my career in TV and behind the scenes, I'd ask everybody their sign that I was working with, because on some level I thought it would be better for me to know their signs,
right? So
I'd know, how do I work with that sign? You know, I know that I have certain signs that become Leos. I mean, I told you, you're a Leo, my wife's a Leo, my sister's a Leo, my best friend from college is a Leo,
right?
My friend from high school. So many close people in my life are Leos. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so.
What are you?
I'm an Aquarius. Well, I'm on the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces. So like opposite signs, which a lot of times opposite signs, people, if you're listening, there's some people that are really drawn to the opposite sign and it works really well. And then there's some people that like it works horribly. It's like the opposite.
So when you met Jen, did you like?
Did I look at her chart? Did I know she was a Leo?
Wait a second. I can't go out with you until I know what your sign is.
No. I'm trying to think. Did I? No. I did want to know. I wanted to know sooner rather than later. Well, you know what it is? I wanted to know, once you know the signs, that's one thing. But I guess I wouldn't say I've let like it define whether or not I'd be in a relationship or not, because there have been moments in my life where I've turned away from it and I've been like, let me not pay attention to it and live my life. And I think that's a great thing to do too.
Well, Jen is so lovely. Yeah. Her essence is so beautiful that no matter what sign she was, she's like an amazing person.
That's right. She's just a sweetheart. So she's like, amazing. You know, that's also the thing. You feel the energy of the person. This is what I'll say with astrology. And this is where like a lot of people, I guess they like, you know, I don't consider myself psychic. You're the psychic. You're the medium. I'm intuitive without a doubt. And when I read a chart, I read it with an intuition. Like I definitely will zone in on different things and pick up on different things. But I do feel like it's I feel like I intuited on a soul level that Jen and I were compatible. And then when I looked at our charts after the fact, it just reinforced that. That's really what I think astrology is supposed to do. It's supposed to reinforce.
So like, people who really don't understand astrology need to know that the exact time you're born makes the difference, where you were born. Yeah. Like, it's not just your sun sign.
It's not just your sun's sign. So what I always say to people, in order for me to be really accurate, is I say I need the minute you were born, the day you were born, the year, obviously, and the location. And then what we do is we plot not just where the sun is at that moment, we plot like where all the planets are at that moment. And each planet lands in its own sign. So if your sun's in, so for me, for example, my sun's in Aquarius, but my Mars is in Gemini. So that means the way I channel my energy would be in more Gemini sorts of ways. And what does Gemini represent? It represents communication and the duality of doing two different things at once or multiple things.
Right.
I mean, that's the way I do channel my energy. Sometimes it's not so focused. Sometimes it's doing a bunch of different things. But for a TV producer, that's kind of okay, you know? So it's like an astrologer is able to like look at those different things in a person's chart.
Right.
And how they relate to each other. And then you take your chart and you plot it in compatibility with somebody else's chart. And how do those things? It's like a puzzle that as you're reading it, you just, you know, it's like how the pieces fit together.
But you do it also intuitively, which you
yes,
don't realize.
Sure.
You don't realize how
that's a big part of
that
it.
ability is of yours. Maybe you are, but you're more humble about it.
You know what it is? It's okay. So I'm a Pisces rising, which is on some level very different from like an Aquarius sun. Right. And that allows me to suck in the energy of who I'm speaking with or the environment and kind of like feel like it's not, you know, listen, you know it all. You know what one of my biggest lessons with astrology is, and this is something that I always want people to like take with them, just that there's a basic thing. It's based on this idea of like 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. So you're a fire person. Fire people, fire signs, Leo, Sagittarius. They put Aries. Fire it's like it emanates. Their beings emanate like this. Their feelings are put out there.
Right.
Okay. Fire signs, they put their feelings out there. It's a lot of feeling based.
Right.
Whereas air signs, it's Aquarius, it's Libra, it's Gemini. They communicate a lot because there's a lot of thoughts going on. But like the core of each of us, like fire versus air, the core of air is like it's like this. It's like an air thing.
Right.
Whereas fire is more like it's like more of like a feeling sort of thing. Earth, talk about like Capricorn and Virgo and Taurus. They're like really grounded people in the reality of situations that are in front of our faces, and what you see is what we need to pay attention to before we start worrying about our feelings and everything we're thinking. And then like water signs, like Pisces, like Scorpio, they in Cancer, they kind of like their feelings rather than putting them out there. It's more of like it's an internal sort of like taking on other feelings, paying attention to the waves that like go through people. And I feel like we all have all 4 of those things in us, but the balance is different. And I think if people pay attention and like really think about who they are versus other people, you do start seeing that we kind of divide up in there. To me, it's just a way of being. It just is.
What's the for an air sign, let's say?
Right. Yeah.
What's the best like compatibility for an air sign?
So I mean, so it really depends. Like, so for air signs, typically, what they say is there's a simpatico automatically with the same element. So if the element's air, Aquarius can get along with Libra, they can get along with Gemini. Just easier. It's just like an easier thing. Same with all the other different signs. The thing is, compatibility to me really depends on what a person wants from a relationship. Like, there's different kinds of relationships. There's like passionate relationships. There's great friendships. There's great business relationships. There's great partnerships. It depends on what, you know, astrologically, if 5 signs away from you. So it's like if your sun sign's an Aries, you look 5 signs away. That's your 5th house, right? So your 5th house is the sign where you'd feel I mean, it's the fire sign. It's still Leo, so it's the fifth house is a house of like automatic love. Seventh house is the house of like a marriage partner. So it's like opposite signs. Opposite signs for everybody has a good potential of being like a really great marriage partner, a really great business partner.
So Aries would get along with Capricorn, right? You better say yes.
Well, it's not without it's not like an Aries and a Capricorn can't get along, but they approach the world from two different perspectives. And Aries approaches it from an emotional putting it out there. It's a cardinal sign. Capricorn approaches it from more of like a deliberate, no. We need to be a little bit more, not like in our heads, but we need to be a little bit more adult about things. So there's that battle between them. But that's the type of thing that some people like in relationships. It's like we call that a square between signs. So if the signs are about 90 days apart in terms of birthdays, there's a tension point there. But tension is like, who doesn't want a relationship without tension?
Right.
Otherwise, like there's like so
right. So just like generally speaking, Aries would get along with who?
I mean, Aries, a good marriage partner, business partner, could be a Libra. They'd see the world kind of from different perspectives. I mean, it depends. It depends.
It just depends. I know you don't want me to pigeonhole.
No, but it's like also like if somebody's like listening, they're like, well, I don't believe it because I'm with so and so, and it's like, you know what, you're right, because if I was to look at your chart, I'd be like, there are other things that like piece together. But like really easier relationships for an Aries, an easier relationship is a Leo or a Sagittarius.
And what about for Taurus?
Also some air signs. I mean, because there's like a combustible quality there.
Right.
There's like the thinking and the feeling.
What about for Taurus?
Taurus. So Taurus was my father-in-law, who passed away, and my mother-in-law. She's a Scorpio, so the opposite signs. It's the opposite signs thing. I can't tell you how many couples I know that are opposite signs.
Oh, so that's a good thing.
Here's the thing: if you actually know your birthday, if you know the birth minute, and I looked at the chart, a lot of times people are opposite rising signs. So the rising sign is based on the minute you're born, and it's how you kind of present yourself to the world. A lot of people have that as the opposite. What else? Taurus could be with Virgo. Although if I was going to say like a Taurus-Virgo relationship, I'd probably think the Taurus would be the male. It would be better.
Right.
And it would be better for the Virgo to be the female. Otherwise, there might be like an imbalance of power there just in terms of who's leading the relationship and how the people feel comfortable in the relationship.
What about a Gemini?
Yeah, go ahead.
What about a Gemini?
Gemini. I mean, Gemini could, I think, probably get along with anybody.
Because they're dual personalities?
Sagittarius is the opposite sign. Aquarius, Libra's easy. Fires. Gemini really does get along with anybody. Honestly, it's more the other person. It's like, is the other person going to get along with the Gemini? That's, I think, a lot of, because the Gemini could kind of be in the relationship and be in a million relationships, but, know that this is the one that's really solid for me. But like, it's really the other person. The other person cool with the Gemini being that sociable, communicative, talkative person,
Yeah, and so I once dated a Cancer, so somebody told me that they're a water sign and they would put out my fire.
Well, here's the thing: signs that follow one another. So that's not necessarily. Cancers are very sensitive,
right?
So and Leos are very speaking from the heart and like heart-bound,
right?
And a Leo doing that could potentially impact a Cancer in a way that like Cancer might, be like, oh, and what happens there is sometimes Cancers don't express themselves. They could be like showy people,
right?
But like they also, probably only to their closest confidence do they really express themselves. And if you like as a Leo might burn a Cancer in a way that you don't anticipate, that you rubbed them the wrong way or anything like that, they might withdraw and then suddenly be a mute, right? And then it becomes like one of those, so is it that they're putting out your fire, or your fire scorches them and they're sensitive to it? It's the way you can look at it different ways.
Who's good for Cancer?
Who's good for Cancer? My brother's a Cancer. He's married to a Pisces, water sign. It's once again the water sign compatibility. Capricorn could be good for Cancer because there's the sensitivity of Cancer,
right?
And like homebound nature of them, whereas a Capricorn's like wants to put themselves out in the world and accomplish things. So, a lot of the time the reason I'm saying these opposite signs is because the ego point, the point that is, you know, at their core and center of who they are, they complement one another. So it's like almost like, oh, you want to be the one on stage? Go be the one on stage. I'll be the one that's, you know, behind the scenes. That's kind of what happens.
And so for Libras, I mean, for Leos, it's Libras or?
I mean, that's not a bad match. You know, that's 60 degree. That's a sextile. You know,
well, sex is always important. Oh, sextile. Oh, okay.
Sextile. That's right. Sextile. But that's, you know, this is all of the here's another lesson. So signs that follow one another. So if it's Cancer and a Leo, usually there's one person that's leading that relationship and one that's following it. Not just in the calendar, but in reality.
Oh, that makes sense.
They can work if the people that are in the positions like those positions. If they don't, the relationship doesn't work. But if you're in the relationship, like my mom and dad, my dad's an Aries, my mom's a Pisces. So my dad is, you know, technically the sign that follows my mom. Right. But in reality, he's the one that leads, I think. My mom might be watching and saying, no, I know. But there is that dynamic that he likes being the leader. And she's not a follower, obviously. She ran the family and all of that. But you know,
your dad's an astrologer.
In a relationship, there's one person that kind of, I don't want to say leads the relationship, but because those roles do change.
Right.
But we all know relationships, they work because
it also sounds like because your dad's an astrologer, he likes to know what's going on. He wants to be in control.
Well, you know what's funny? The funny thing with my dad and me, this is, you know, we love reading people's charts. What we found and what happens is the more you do it and you're reading charts and you hit on things and the more you kind of get, you know, I don't want to say it drives you crazy, but it drives you. Well, you and I have this conversation all the time.
Right.
Because you do readings for people.
Right.
And I say, how does it not drain you? Because I feel like, I don't want to say I'm so in my head. I'm a last degree Aquarius. So like there's a lot of mental energy going on with me. I don't want to say it seems spastic, but sometimes it seems like, wow, I'm like focusing on a million different elements and aspects of the chart and this, that, and the other. It could drive you a little crazy. I always commend you for being able to do what you do.
Well, I really work hard at having balance in my life, and
you know what?
What?
The advice that you gave me the last time we spoke.
What was it?
The light surrounding ourselves.
The white light in the egg.
I've been doing that more often than
Doesn't it work?
Before. It really feels like it
really works.
It really does.
I'm so happy you're doing that because I really feel like it's the key to protection. For you know, people who watch CharVision, they know it. You put a white light around you, and then you put an egg around you. You put yourself inside an egg, but all the white light that is surrounding you is all goodness, love, and protection. But around you, which is Patty taught us, this is to put a mirrored egg. So the outside, the shell of the egg is a mirror. And then you just take, so anything dark or negative coming at you is going to bounce back to where it came from. And you're safe inside the egg. And you can even put more diamond-shaped mirrors around the middle of the egg and swirl them around. So like lasers, all the badness is going away.
I know it sounds crazy. It does. It sounds like a crazy idea, but I think it works.
It doesn't sound crazy at all.
But that's you or me. But that's you and me.
But
you
thoughts create reality. Thoughts are things, and positive
that's true. I agree. Yeah.
Positive manifest positive, negative manifest negative. So okay, so for Leos, obviously I'm going through the line of astrology, just basic little things. So a Leo would get along maybe better with a Sagittarius or.
It's easier. It's like an easier relationship.
Right. And Virgos.
What do you want? What kind of relationships do you be honest? What kinds of relationships do you typically like? Do you like easy, or do you not like so easy?
I think I need to go to my therapist right now.
Right?
You know what? I really like the next one I have. I want it to be easy. Really easy. Real easy.
All right, so, wait, did I ever look at your chart? Have you ever given me your information? Did I do it a long, long time ago?
I'm going to text it to you after.
Text it to me after.
Will you look at it?
You don't want me to do it in front of everybody.
Yeah, well, you can do it. Do you want it? But no, I
I'll look at it right now.
I want to do this for everybody at home and make it general today because it can't always be about me.
It's all right. Okay, why not, Leo? It's fine.
But
here's never about you. It's not about you, though. You make it about everybody else.
Well, I want everybody to gain something. And so Virgos, I have to say, have been a difficult sign for a lot of people.
They're not an easy sign. I don't want to say what the problem. I don't want to say it's the problem. I don't like faulting any sign, although every sign has its own fault. It has its own quality that's more difficult. Virgos are very I mean, there are 4 duality signs in the zodiac. It's Sagittarius, it's Gemini, it's all of the mutable signs. It's Pisces and it's Virgo. And like Virgo's like an earth sign, but it's an earth sign ruled by Mercury. So even though they want to appear grounded, they want to appear like the most grounded, there's a certain mental energy of indecisiveness and worry and self-consciousness and all of those different things at play. Right. That not only do they drive the Virgo crazy, they could impact other people. It's a worried energy that it's a fastidiousness. It could be found as a critical quality in their personality. You know, I've had a lot of friends that are Virgos, and I have a dynamic, but to me, a lot of the time with my Virgo friends, there's the dynamic of disagreeableness with me and them in terms of the way we debate things. But I guess I like that because at least, you know what it offers to me? Virgos usually offer to me a point of view that I don't have inherently at all.
I think they're really good in business and organization.
Organization, yes.
I think that you can. They're good to
It's funny because there are some Virgos that are like CEOs of companies. Like I don't know how many Virgo presidents we've had, but a lot of the time, and I don't you Virgos watching, I don't want you to be insulted by this, but a lot of the time Virgos are good being a cog in cogwork. So they're like good at like helping every pieces, you know. There is a nurturing side of Virgo that, you know, wants to like heal and help, but they don't always show that side of themselves so easily. It's like some, you know.
Yeah. And what about Libra?
Libra are very sociable people. They're very charming. They could be in my experience, they could be a little bit like Virgo in the sense that they could play devil's advocate. It's funny. Libra women, I always have pretty easy relationships with. Libran men tend to be the ones that will want to get into a debate with me about astrology and whether or not there's any reality to it. And here's the thing. I have nothing to prove to anybody.
Right.
And I don't want to get into a debate. It's like, if you don't believe it, God bless you. You don't have to believe it. I'm not here to convince you of it.
They're the scales. Yeah. So they're the scales and the balance. So they're trying to.
Scales and the balance. So in my life, I have my moon in Libra. So emotionally.
You have a moon in Libra?
I'm a moon in Libra.
I'm Libra rising.
All right. So there you go. So like emotionally, that's why like we have a simpatico automatically. There is more of a like I don't want to say like an intellectual thinking, but it's able to like kind of when I'm good with my emotion and you're probably good at like with the balancing when you're reading people and whatnot is that
I try.
You feel it. It's like you feel it. It's just like an inherent feeling that you and I have with people that probably honestly you know how to get along with anybody, and I think I probably do too.
I know you do. I don't know. I try to.
Know how to.
You know, and we're going to continue, but I have to give out your website. It's www.theastrologyspot.com. Is it underneath his name, Tony? Thank you. Now, because you're going to start doing some readings, right?
There'll be a wait list. How's that sound?
There'll be a wait list, but you know what? It doesn't matter because, excuse me, you can... You know, somebody might find me on TV and call me 10 years later or something. So
I know that's it, right? I know. I do. You know what it is? It's that when sometimes I feel compelled to read certain people, and when that happens, I allow myself to.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
that's so good. But that's
Yeah.
good because I know you're really busy and you don't have a lot of time for this. But I also know that I think when you're older, you're going to do more of this. I'm just saying.
I know you. It's so funny. It's like even astrologically, I guess I could say, yeah, I can kind of see that in my chart and have seen that for a very long time. You know, we'll see. I try not I try not to live my life by astrology as much as like it's a part of my life.
Well, that's because intuition. Your intuition is most important.
Right. Yes, I agree.
Your gut is most important. So Scorpio, that's like about sex, right? What's Scorpio?
It's what Scorpio is? Scorpio's an intense sign. So they like mysteries and investigating and getting deeper, and they don't see things on the surface level. And they feel like when they're talking to you, it's like they could if they want. It depends on who they think they're dealing with. They could like pierce through and they like there's always like an undercurrent with a Scorpio, like what's really going on. So I think like it relates to sex in the sense that sex is like an underlying tension that just exists.
So do two Scorpios get along?
It depends. I mean, that could be pretty intense. Same signs could get along easily, but it's a lot of power there. So
it's a lot of mishigas.
It's also, are people aware? Like you're a Leo. I know I'm an Aquarius. Do we know ourselves well?
Right.
If the person doesn't know themselves well, I don't know. That's where I think people have difficulty being in relationships. It's like, you don't know who you are. How could you be with somebody? And if you don't love who you are, how could you be with somebody else?
And that's true. So who would be like a generally good for Scorpio?
Generally good. I mean, well, what is it? It's Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were a Scorpio-Leo couple, which is a power couple. But that doesn't necessarily mean, is that like, so they've achieved power and acclaim, but like, is that a great relationship? I don't know. I mean, it's, well, you're looking like, oh, wait, probably not. But it depends on what people want. What do you think they wanted? They probably wanted everything they have and all the success and power that they have in life, right?
That's probably true.
So like, who would it, a Scorpio Pisces? That's not. I mean, it's once again it's the water signs. Scorpio Cancer. I mean, Scorpio. Scorpio really, I think Scorpio should be the one determining who they're with, because Scorpio will know who they're either overtaking in the relationship, or who they feel is their equal. And I feel like Scorpios would be the one making the determination.
What's a generalization? What's a generalization? Excuse me for interrupting. Of a Sagittarius. Sagittarius.
It's it's very funny. So Robin Roberts, Good Morning America.
Roberts. She's so lovely. My goodness.
Lovely. So I've been working on Good Morning America for years at this point. And some people know that I do astrology, but I don't really talk about it. So Robin actually the other day, she goes to me, Sagittarius, what am I? And I said, you're all the things you are. I said, you're sporty. You're a world traveler. You're somebody who seeks higher spirituality. You're somebody who higher education's very important.
Yeah.
She's all of those things. So who's good for those things? For somebody who's Sagittarius, probably, Aquarius is a good thing, because Aquarius thoughts are kind of like a little out there and like, trying to like think about, spacier types of things. Sagittarians like people who expand their horizon. So they need somebody that's willing to do that.
That's a good trait that they keep wanting to learn. They keep wanting to learn.
My dad being a Sagittarius rising, my whole life has expanded my horizons with, I guess, everything.
Wow. That's so cool. And then what's next? Capricorn.
Capricorns are, I always say, they're the older souls of the zodiac. They're teachers. They like showing their accomplishments. I have my Venus in Capricorn. So what that means for me, just to kind of show you. So Venus is the planet of like love, and Capricorn is like it's a little older, more mature. So like really for me, love is a responsibility. I've never looked at love and being in relationships as being, we're responsible for each other's hearts. And I think that, some people be more fly by night. I've never had that capacity because, my Venus is in a place of there's more weight to when I feel or when I express or when I love. It matters to me, and it matters to the people that I'm with. So Capricorns are people for whom things, matter, and a lot, they like accomplishing. And as they get older, Capricorns grow more into themselves and their ability to recognize that Capricorns grow into their emotions as they get older.
Wait, is Saturn in Capricorn now? Isn't it coming in or?
You know what? Let me look. I'll look while I'm on the thing.
It's going to be. What will that mean?
What's that? What would Saturn and Capricorn mean?
Yeah.
It would mean more responsibility coming into play for the world in terms of really, what are we learning from one another? What are we teaching one another?
What if somebody is a
Capricorn? What's going to happen over the course of time? What seeds are we planting now that have real potential versus those that could fall away? Where is Saturn right now? It's in Sagittarius still, Saturn.
And then when does it go into?
It'll be in Capricorn. Let me see when it changes signs. 1 sec. Saturn. So it's in Sagittarius right now. So you know what? So Saturn in Sagittarius means Sagittarius is the planet. It's the world. It's people and expansion and in spiritual ideologies, and we're all learning lessons about that around the world in terms of there's more of a weight associated with ISIS and just the way that North Korea. I mean, everything like that is Saturn, the weight of a planet like Saturn, and the optimism and exploration and spirituality of Sagittarius. So it's like we're all feeling that weight right now in that expansion. Let me see when it switches to Capricorn.
That's interesting because
I mean, so is it? Let me see. Saturn. 1 sec.
I know I didn't tell you ahead of time I was going to say this, so it's okay.
Oh, listen. It's all good.
Saturn starts soon, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going online just to find the date. Saturn occupies. It's going to be in Sagittarius until December 20th of 2017, and then it'll be in Capricorn. So 2018 is going to be in Capricorn.
So if somebody's got Saturn,
so that means to me a lot of what's been going on. We might start learning the lessons about everything that's going on, and there might be more of a weight to decisions that are made, and more of a longer-term impact to things that happen next year that may be getting sown right now, and then it'll be in Capricorn for about 2.5 years, and we will age. We as a whole planet will feel an aging and more of a wisdom, hopefully. But that'll be the lesson. It'll be like, are we learning? Listen, if we don't learn things, history does repeat itself. It repeats itself in Saturn returns, which are like 27 to 29 years. We can kind of feel them.
If somebody is a Capricorn, what does that mean that they have to do?
What does it mean for them that it's going to be there? I mean, it means a couple of things. It could mean that, so when Saturn enters your sign, it does mean that there's more of like a growing up, learning, deepening of you in the world, and solidifying of that aspect of you, like a real core aspect of your being in the world. Wow. So, and that could come from something heavy happening. It could come from, being in school and like getting a degree. So the heaviness doesn't have to come from like a negative heaviness, but there's more of a weight to it. What's that say there?
Like a positive thing, like it could
100%. It's more of it could be the time that a Capricorn, they've been going for their PhD and then suddenly now it happens.
Right.
Something that you're growing into
it could
becomes
be
more
weight.
stable.
It could be losing weight, right?
Could you be losing weight?
If somebody was overweight.
Well, what's their sign?
Capricorn.
Oh, they're a Capricorn. It could be. It could actually be the point at which they kind of start this new cycle.
That's what I think. For some people, I know.
Say that again?
I think that for some people, I know.
So I hope so. If they want to, I hope so. Here's the thing.
In a good way.
Saturn tends to, when it hits your sign, those things that are built on sand fall away, and those things that are truly stable build and grow in structure. So, it's like if a relationship falls away when Saturn's going over your rising sign, going over your sun sign, if you're a Capricorn or whatever sign, it's probably better. It probably means that you've learned enough from whatever that thing that goes away is. Time to learn something new. So for somebody who is losing weight, it could be, you know what? You learned enough being heavy. Now learn what it's like to be thin.
Right. And what about Aquarius?
What about Aquarius in general?
Yeah.
Like what signs they're good with?
Yeah.
I'm good with Leo. I mean, I'm good, honestly. Aquarians are good friends. They're really good humanitarians. Aquarians in relationships are not the easiest to be tied down until they're ready to be tied down, and then it's they still need space. There's an aloofness with Aquarians that if you can't accept an Aquarian's inherent aloofness or eccentricity or lack of emotionalism from time to time or logicality, then it doesn't work.
But a good sign for Aquarius is Leo, right?
I mean,
for you.
You could say Leo, you could say Gemini, you could say Libra, you could say Sagittarius. I mean, Aries. It depends. But yeah, they can get a bunch of fire signs, other air signs. That's not a bad match.
You know what Sunny is?
No, what's Sunny?
Besides putting his feet inside my shirt and pulling it down. It's a whole new show today. He's a Pisces.
Well, listen, that's my rising. My mom's a Pisces. So wait a second. This is interesting. My mom and I born on the same day.
Wow.
Well, not the same year, obviously. I'm an Aquarius, and I'm a last degree Aquarius. She's a first degree Pisces, and I'll even say something simple like that it was like another component of me recognizing the reality of astrology, and that my mom and Pisces are very sensitive. They intuit and suck in the emotions of environments entirely. Right. So, like, if Sonny's around nervous people, Sonny's going to become a nervous person.
It's true. He does. A calm person. He is.
And Pisces have to be very aware about being around negative people. Negative people because the Pisces will suck in that energy, they could become negative. Pisces are inclined towards getting depressed when they're around negative people. They're good at like swimming through. Pisces is another sign that honestly, we call them the chameleon of the zodiac because they could kind of swim through life's currents and get through.
They seem
easy
like really
matches.
Lovely people, the Pisces I know.
They're very, very friendly, very sensitive, artistic.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of artists, actors, dancers.
So they get along with most everybody.
They could get along with Pisces. Mutable signs in general: Gemini, Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, a little bit less so. Those four signs can get along with everybody because they allow other signs to kind of take more of the spotlight from them.
They like to please people.
They're people pleasers, and in astrology we'd call them mutable signs. So similar.
Excuse you, Sonny. Excuse you. A lot of people are watching you burp. Sorry. Okay. So, wow. You really went through all those signs. Now, right now.
Yeah.
There's a full moon in Taurus, and the energy is like, it's like things are smooth, and then whoops, there's an emergency right now. And for me today, then things are smooth, and then
a full moon in Taurus is really supposed to be a time of. It's supposed to be a time of things that like may have been happening in your life for a long time, like building and building and building. Full moon in Taurus is really a good time of like really something solid happening or something that happens. Maybe, I don't know what happened to you, but maybe it could be like a really consequence, like a lasting consequence. It's really a good time of planting. Taurus is like the sign of like deep, Taurians we call them like, they're slow. I don't want to say slow. It's not the right word because they're slow changing. It's like a very it's a strong earth sign. So when the moon's in that, it's like emotions are strong and they're deep and they're you really should pay attention. Everybody should pay attention to how they're feeling around this full moon, because kind of like the things we're going through and you're experiencing, or that may be coming to culmination today or in the days surrounding the past couple of days, they probably have more consequence to you than you may be aware of. That's what a full moon in Taurus means. It's actually my mother-in-law's birthday, her 70th birthday, so happy birthday to her.
Oh,
and she's a
happy
Scorpio,
birthday.
so opposite sign. Full moon's in the opposite sign.
So in general, when there is a full moon, it does affect us. Like, I know that
Well, listen, they even say it affects people in the emergency room. I mean, there's just reality to things like that. There are more patients in emergency rooms at the time of the full moon.
Is it because of the tide? I
mean, honestly, I don't even know that we can explain. I can give you a whole explanation that like tries to scientifically explain astrology through quantum theory and quantum entanglement, and I don't know. I don't think we know enough about why astrology works or doesn't work. I don't know. I really couldn't say what the real reason is. I have my own theories about it.
What?
But yeah, I mean, come on. We know the moon impacts a million things on the planet. How could it not be impacting us?
I want to hear your theory.
Yeah. Oh, what my theory about astrology and why it is?
Well,
I mean, my theory is that I look at it two ways. I look at it like, we have DNA and our genes express themselves, and maybe the solar wind, as it's coming to the Earth, it impacts the DNA's expression, like the epigenetics, which is the study of how our genes actually express themselves. But then there's also quantum entanglement that shows that like a particle over here could impact a particle over here. So who's to say that like big particles like planets and suns can't be impacting things in a way that like, we know it's not magnetism, we know it's not this, we know it's not gravity, we know it's not that. But to say that there's no relation that could potentially be impactful without being completely cause and effect, like, I don't know, isn't that just like ignoring the substance of the universe? I think so, but that's just...
That makes really good sense. I've never heard anyone describe it like that.
Yeah, no.
Wow, I love that.
I have a lot of theories, and some people might think I'm crazy, and then I'll just say, well, I'm just an Aquarius.
I don't think you're crazy, but I think you should write your theories down, so when you write your book, your book one day...
I know you'd like me to write a book. Maybe one day, maybe when I find the time. I have two little ones at home. I have a 4.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old.
They're adorable. So, look at there, you've got plenty of time. There's
plenty of time. In the future. Right.
There's no rush about anything. It's quantum physics. The past, present, and future are all going on at the same time.
All happening at the exact same. And that's another thing I like to say about astrology. It's kind of like every moment's impactful. And when I read a person's chart or I read what's going, it's like all I'm doing is looking at the mirror of that moment in your life right now. And it could have a million different reflections for you. And I could hit some of them when I'm explaining them to you. And some might not resonate with you.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that all of those things aren't happening at the same time. They all are. And all astrology is it's pinpointing this moment in time. I'm pinpointing this birth moment in time. But the reality is, charts progress, and I could look at it at this moment in time, and how does this moment relate to that moment? It's all connected, and it's just the way it is.
Well, at this moment in time, I am so grateful to you for doing this for me. Seriously, what the whole audience here is clapping for you, which is Tony, who's the only one in the room with me.
Thank you, Tony. That's very sweet of you.
So I just want people to know that there would probably be a long waiting list, and I'll have to twist his arm, but it's the astrology spot, spot.com. Greg, would you consider coming back and we can talk about so many other things?
I'll be back whenever you want me to. Whenever I'm always around.
Okay, I love you. Thank you so much. I love you too. Send my love to Jen, and thank you again for our gift. Sonny loves it.
All right, enjoy.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Be well. Okay, well, that really, he is so interesting, and it's kind of like the one who won't, who's, you have to twist his arm to do astrology is like the best because he has no ego involved in this. Greg Tufaro is just so gifted and so talented, and I appreciate him being on. And I really appreciate you guys watching because you've given me an opportunity to learn so much by watching. And I learn from everybody that comes on this show. It means so much. And of course, I'm let's see, is it next weekend? Oh yeah, we already taped a show for next weekend because I'm doing one of my intuition retreats by invitation only. But it's usually people that I read for. It's just a small group, but I do teach online if anyone is interested. And I also do readings, so you can go to char.net for anything else you want to know. And I appreciate everything that all of you watching. And just remember, intuition will take you places logic never could. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.